Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and fun fact about me, when I was in elementary school, I crimped my hair because it was the early 2000s. And a girl in my class asked me if my newborn baby brother was sick. I said,
No. Why?
She then asked, well, why did he throw up on your head?
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And I've simply never recovered from that. That was really mean, Angela. But this was not the first or the last time that I was bullied, and unfortunately sometimes continued the cycle of the bullied becomes the bully. I took some swings that were so out of pocket. So if you have a memory of me being mean to you as a kid, I apologize.
I hope her hair. Look at her hair.
My tiny little brain was still developing, just like everyone else's was. But I learned a valuable lesson, and that is evil knows no gender, because boys were also super mean to me. The term mean girl was invented because women are expected to be nice and men aren't. Boys will be boys. They were just joking. Why are you being so sensitive? We have been taught to give men the benefit of the doubt and demonize women for the exact same behavior. So you are not going to hear me call Blake Lively or anyone else on the planet a mean girl in the same way that I am not going to call Ryan Reynolds a mean boy. They are both grown adults that have been making poor decisions, and it's okay to call out that behavior without being sexist. But I do feel the need to say that I don't know any of these people and neither do you. But I'm seeing comments on social media as if that were not the case. Like, my Raphael would never. Raphael is a fictional character played by Justin Baldoni on Jane the Virgin. He is not real. Or,
well, Blake Lively's friends with Taylor Swift, and I love Taylor Swift, and she would never be friends with that. Blah, blah, blah.
Hey, guess what? You also don't personally know Taylor Swift. Only I do, as her music speaks to me on a level incomprehensible to most mortals. I get the urge to want to defend someone that you're a fan of, but if you want to get your facts straight, you have to check your parasocial relationships at the door when it comes to this ongoing publicity war. I love Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants as much as the next millennial, and I was in deep love with Justin in Jane the Virgin, but right is right and wrong is wrong. And if I learned anything from Wicked, it's that people are not purely good or purely bad. Human beings are much more complex and nuanced than that. Bad people can do good things and good people can do bad things. Team Justin is painting him as Elphaba, being falsely accused and villainized by the self-righteous Glinda, aka Blake Lively, and Team Blake is painting her as Elphaba and Justin as the con man wizard pretending to be something he is not for the adoration of the masses. Both are accusing each other of creating smear campaigns, and it's a lot. And as citizens of Oz, we have to accept that we may never know the full truth. We are left with the flying monkeys and pieces of broken glass. We're just trying to figure out what happened because we weren't there. So let's piece together the evidence we do have so far, and we might come up with some semblance of a picture. And I do welcome you to form your own opinions because I'm sure as shit gonna give you mine. This all started with a book titled It Ends With Us, published by Colleen Hoover in 2016, who has been criticized for romanticizing abusive relationships in many of her works, including this one. She has also upset a lot of readers due to her lack of trigger warnings. She has gone on record saying she does not believe in trigger warnings for her books because they will spoil it. I found old reviews way before this movie came about from people really upset that they had no idea what they were getting into and they thought it was just a cozy romantic book, and they ended up being super triggered by it. On her website, still, she describes Ryle, Justin Baldoni's character, as assertive, stubborn, maybe even a little arrogant. Assertive is one way to describe a violent psychopath. And despite saying that she writes about abuse from her own experience, the books she writes are quite different. Colleen says that her mother was in an abusive relationship with her father until she left him before she turned 3 years old. And she emphasizes that her mom did not have a knight in shining armor to save her and she left all on her own. And that's an inspirational story, but that is not the story she is telling. She consistently writes male leads who are violent, stalkers, even murderers, and you're supposed to be getting all hot and bothered for them. In It Ends With Us, Atlas is supposed to be like the nice guy, and he is still also kind of scary.
Wait, what is this? touch her again, I'll cut your hand off and shove it down your throat, you piece of shit.
I'm going to cut your hand and shove it down your throat? Excuse me? Who comes up with that visual? That's the person I'm supposed to feel safe around? That being said, I have never read a Colleen Hoover book because I love myself. I am also not her target audience, as it's usually teenagers or young adults, and emotionally unregulated men just don't do it for me anymore. Not really looking for that at 33 years old. Ironically, the woman who hates trigger warnings has turned her own name into a trigger warning, because if you pick up a Colleen Hoover book, you were going to be fed some patriarchal bullshit wrapped in hot sex. But this video is not about Colleen. I just wanted to point out that no matter who made this movie, it was going to come with the baggage of controversy that Colleen carries, and they were already facing that battle. Also, Colleen has been criticized with how she markets her own book long before the movie ever went into production. She had a coloring book in the works, and it received so much backlash that it never hit the shelves, and she ended up apologizing. She said, "The coloring book was developed with Lily's strength in mind, but I can absolutely see how this was tone deaf. I hear you guys and I agree with you. No excuses, no finger pointing. I have contacted the publisher to let them know I would prefer we don't move forward with it. Thank you for the respectful discourse and accountability. Nothing but love." And then she didn't learn from that at all, because she partnered with a nail polish company called Olive and June and is selling several themed sets that are inspired by her books, including It Ends With Us, the sequel It Starts With Us, as well as a book called November 9th. One Goodreads user reviewed this book saying, "Joe Goldberg tries his hand at arson." Joe Goldberg is the main character in You, and he stalks and kills his love interests. And yeah, the main character ends up falling in love with her stalker. She literally files a restraining order against him and ends up forgiving him. At least in It Ends With Us, she ends up leaving her abuser. In this one, she just flat out says, "Nope, this is your man. This is the kind of guy you want to end up with." Colleen has made it very clear that she's here to sell books. She said, "I'm in my bag, bitches. You're not getting an apology this time, because these nail polishes are still on the shelves at Target and are still available online." And that's fine. She wants to be an author. She wants to make money, but she's selling it under the guise of she's helping women get out of these situations, when in some of her stories, she's telling you to stay in that situation, because it was never about advocacy. But when you pretend it is, that is exploitation. Point blank, period. And that's bad. Guys who are scary are not sexy, they're just scary. Another interesting note is that Colleen Hoover has a son, Levi, who was accused of soliciting explicit pictures from a minor when he was 21 years old. Even though the tweet has since been deleted, the person who initially made this claim came out in 2022 to claim that Colleen had blocked her when she had personally reached out to her in DMs about her son. This is also now gone, but Colleen Hoover used to have a Facebook group called Colleen Hoover's Cohorts. That's what they used to call themselves. I don't think one has breached the light of day in a minute. And she made a statement, and this is what she said. "Things being said about my son aren't accurate. My son and a girl were online friends for several months. They never met in person. He said something to her in a message that made her uncomfortable. He asked her to send him a pic, so she messaged me about it. I did not read this message, but she thought I did, and it understandably upset her that I didn't respond. She then posted on Twitter that my son asked her for a pic. As soon as I found out about this months ago, I reached out to her. We discussed what happened, I apologized to her and thanked her for bringing this to my attention, and I offered to send her our home address and lawyer info should she want it. I held my son accountable for sending a message to her that was inappropriate. I addressed it directly with her and with my son." So she basically confirms that it happened and says she had a stern talking with him. Who knew that you just needed to sit down and have an honest conversation with someone and then they're no longer a predator? Is it that easy? I was shocked to find this information, as it is kind of buried now and there's not a lot of articles on it, but I'm not gonna forget, because what the fuck? Is it even an allegation anymore if she admits to him committing the crime? But for whatever reason, Justin really liked her book It Ends With Us, and he reached out to her in 2019 wanting to buy the rights for a movie, and it went into production 4 years later in 2023. So let's fast forward in time to the It Ends With Us premiere on August 6th, 2024, premiere, and Justin is noticeably not seen with the cast and is taking pictures separately. It's not unheard of for co-workers to get along, but you have to suck it up and work together, especially in the public eye. The cast of Don't Worry Darling was able to do it, despite the speculation about drama on set. No one addressed it, and they just moved on. So not only do people notice that Justin is alone most of the time, they also notice that the cast has all unfollowed him on Instagram, even though he is still following them. This is all by day one of the movie opening. We know next to nothing at this point other than it's just really weird. And people aren't stupid and they want answers. Within days of the premiere, we have articles citing inside sources that have conflicting reasons for the tension between the cast. One article says that Justin made Blake uncomfortable on set and was just generally chauvinistic and controlling, but another article says that they just clashed over creative differences. Meanwhile, Justin is speaking very kindly of Blake, while Blake is just dodging questions about Justin altogether.
She's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin!
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Blake was very involved in that and had amazing ideas and was very hands-on with the choreography of it as well. She's not just an actor. She's so much more than that. She's a creative powerhouse. She's a producer, she's a writer, she's a fashion designer. She touched so many aspects of this production, and everything she touched, she made better. You're like acting with somebody who's like a Ferrari of an actor, and you move a little bit and then they respond. And it really was incredible just in terms of helping me craft the performance.
I don't know if you know how smart and creative she really is. I think she's best known as an actress and of course she's, a fashion, icon, but she is so much more than that. She is a dynamic creative. She had her hands in every part of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
The chemistry with Justin also was off the charts. Teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
love
seen
this?
I
clip.
actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that is like safe and respectful for all. I guess that's the role of intimacy coordination. But
people start noticing there are two very different marketing campaigns going on. Justin Baldoni is addressing the domestic violence in the film head on, while Blake acts like it is a run-of-the-mill rom-com. Also, buy all my stuff.
The question that's always asked is, why did she stay? And that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm? So our friends at No More, I'm wearing their pin right now, they were the ones who really worked with me to help me make this film as truthful as possible.
Hope. And that everybody has the ability to end a cycle that they didn't ask for. We can all say it ends with us in our life.
We acknowledge that, yes, this is a movie about love and hope, but that we don't shy away from the issue. And, so we brought on our partners at No More, and they were involved in the making of this movie from the beginning because we really wanted to honor survivors in that way.
I think that the wardrobe was a really critical part of that storytelling, and I'm really, really proud of it. But I'm wearing like a ton of like Bodhi and vintage, and it's some of my favorite wardrobe I've ever worn. It's just like so expressive and eclectic and really gives you such a sense of the character.
The boots were mine.
I love
there's these great Louboutins that are also a close-up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine. I have a few of my husband's shirts and socks randomly in the movie. I have some of Gigi Hadid's sweaters in the movie.
Those boots.
Those are my boots.
Those boots are so good.
Those are my real life boots. A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes. So pretty, look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
What would you warn yourself, your older self, with fashion? You too.
I would warn myself on like caring too much about trends.
I'm sorry, I like side parts.
No, that's
I'm
not
sorry,
you.
Isabella. I can't get over the side part. I have a cowlick.
But this is what I'm saying.
This is Britney's Versace dress, 2002, the butterfly dress.
What an incredible summer you're having. I feel like you poured a lot into this movie, but then you turned around and you were just as supportive of Ryan. Yeah. What is it like to...
And my hair care company, Blake Brown, my goodness gracious.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
Okay, so we're all familiar with the grab your friends, grab your florals, Barbie-esque marketing that pissed everybody off. But even worse than that, in my opinion, is when she does bring up domestic violence. The way she talks about it is so naive and ignorant to what abuse survivors actually go through. It has a very just get over it tone, which is both insulting and confusing, as she just spent the last year playing a survivor of DV, and yet she seems to not really know much about it and the long-lasting consequences it has and the PTSD. Just watch these interviews and you'll see what I mean.
I think that you are so much, and not to minimize it anyway, but you're so much more than just a survivor or just a victim. Well, that is a huge thing. You are a person of multitudes, and what someone has done to you doesn't define you. You define you, and what you have in you and what you're capable of and what you have done and are doing and will do is so much bigger than anything anyone else can do to you. This movie covers domestic violence, but what's important about this film is that she is not just a survivor and she's not just a victim. And while those are huge things to be, they're not her identity. She's not defined by something that someone else did to her or an event that happened to her, even if it's multiple events. She defines herself. Everyone tends to want to talk about why this is such an important film and why it's so empowering, and I think that that is really important. But I think what's beautiful about this film is there is every color of human emotion in it. There's levity, there's joy, there's humor, there's hope, there's pain, there's tragedy, there's violence, there's trauma, there's sadness, there's exaltation, there's life, there's death, there's like love, there's loss.
I'm gonna type every word I know. Rectangle, America, megaphone, Monday, butthole.
So the tides slowly start to turn on Blake because of the controversial way she is promoting this film. And on August 9th, an old interview of Blake Lively is uploaded from 2017 titled "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." And everyone collectively loses their minds.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
They are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Do you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in digital...
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love Jesse's suits and how
that's what I'm saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know.
Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous. Those high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I would wish men wore high-waisted pants like that still. Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes. But I feel like the women get the conversation, but it's like every detail with everybody.
Yeah, it was amazing to look at.
This clip makes me feel so icky and uncomfortable. I don't like the way that Blake responded, but I also can see how maybe she just didn't like the words that Kirsty chose to use, calling it her little bump. But either way, this is where the pile-on of Blake Lively really begins, in my opinion, and people start sleuthing and finding more interviews, and she is very quickly labeled a mean girl, a bitch, a diva, just all the misogynistic stereotypes that you can think of.
Because of the books.
Everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway.
Over
moment by me. What does that mean?
Well,
Did you see the movie?
I did see the movie. But
but by the way, you've been like, oh, I think you're the bigger Potter fan. I think you're the bigger Disney fan. I think you're the bigger. So like, what? What about me over here?
You can present your own. Present.
And you have a baby on the way. Congratulations.
What makes you say that?
The shark told me.
You know you don't ever say that to a woman.
You
almost because I wasn't sure what you'd be craving.
Nonsense.
That's
Can
not
I tell
good
you,
enough.
Real friends bring you real food. I had real friends that brought me these Levain cookies.
That's
Look at
amazing.
that. Have you had Levain in New York?
I haven't had those. Are they
So
amazing?
almost does not count as a present.
Maybe for the next one, because I know you're already hinting at having another one.
I want to
get back onto you. Let's talk about you almost bringing. Tell me the impetus of why you didn't bring the present.
I wasn't sure what you'd be craving. What are you
No, not about craving. I'm a normal human being. I eat food. I like food. What do you like to eat?
I like, well, I've never been pregnant, but I imagine if I was
But why are you differentiating? We're human beings. We all like food. What do you like? What do you love?
What do you
like?
I like cookies.
You like cookies from where? What's your favorite cookie?
My favorite cookie would be my mom's cookies, actually.
So next time, I want your mom's cookie.
I feel like at best, it is sarcasm and jokes not landing correctly, and at worst, it is her being intentionally rude and condescending for no reason. The thing is, I don't see a problem with all of these clips. It's obvious that she has had the same sense of humor her entire life, and sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. And instead of being like, oh, that was kind of awkward, people are taking it to the extreme and are like,
oh wow, she is being so fucking rude to the interviewer. Like, who the fuck does she think she is?
I have seen so many awkward interviews with men who speak this way and make jokes that don't land or say something that could be interpreted as rude, and they never get clocked for it. Like the Hugh Grant interview with Ashley Graham.
What are you most excited to see tonight?
To see?
Yeah, well, I know that you probably watched a few of the movies. Are you excited to see anybody win? Do you have your hopes up for anyone?
No one in particular.
Okay, well, what are you wearing tonight then?
Just my suit.
Your suit? Who
Yeah.
made your suit? You didn't make it.
I can't remember, my tailor.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to the tailor.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does it feel like to be in Glass Onion? It was such an amazing film. I really loved it. I love a thriller. How fun is it to shoot something like that?
Well, I'm barely in it. I'm in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but still, you showed up and you had fun, right?
Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, back to you guys.
People did have a moment with that, saying he was being really rude, but more people were defending him, saying that she just wasn't asking interesting questions and it was her fault. Yeah, this article says Ashley Graham reflects on grumpy Hugh Grant interview. What are the titles we've been seeing for Blake Lively? I really don't like that double standard at all, and I think there's two extremes to this. To say that gender does not play a role in this and that people would be reacting exactly the same to Blake Lively if she was a man is just objectively not true, because we've seen how people speak about men when they don't like them. But to say that the only reason she is getting hate is because she is a woman is also oversimplified. Women can be assholes just as much as men are, but they are called out for it more often because they're supposed to be nice and pleasant and humble and sweet. And that's one of the reasons I have liked her for all these years, is because she is always so confident and gives zero fucks. And I think she has nice hair. All I've ever wanted in my life is for my hair to look like hers, but now suddenly people are roasting her for her hair and saying it looks bad. Leave her hair alone. Scram! And if her hair products don't work, then they don't work. So social media does its thing and rains hell upon her, but it simmers down and we don't really hear anything on either front for about 4 months. And that could have been the end of it. Even though the internet is forever, people do have a shockingly short-term memory sometimes. I think Blake could have come back and promoted her upcoming film A Simple Favor too, and we would be none the wiser. Would people maybe still be making jokes? Yeah, but what happened in December really just made people keep digging and digging and digging, because up until that point, it was just unsubstantiated rumors about what happened on set, but it pulled over $350 million in the box office. That is an objectively successful movie. She could have gotten her bag, taken her doll hairs, and been happy. But secretly, allegedly, God, what are the chances she sees this? Like 0? But I don't really want to be sued because I have $3. Allegedly, Blake is fuming and plotting behind the scenes because she has a secret weapon that she has not used yet, and she is about to try to flip the narrative on its head. On December 21st, 2024, 4 months after the premiere of the movie, the bombshell New York Times article came out titled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." And it was scathing. They had obtained a complaint filed by Blake Lively with the California Civil Rights Department, claiming that she was sexually harassed by Justin Baldoni, and in retaliation, he created all of the negative press about her, and they supposedly reportedly had the text messages between him and his publicist to prove it. When I read that article, I was like, fuck this dude. Like, I cannot believe I fell for it. What have we done to this poor woman? I was completely Team Blake all the way, and I thought he was a monster. Her claims are so specific, I just thought there was no world in which she would make any of that up. But Justin responds pretty quickly by not suing Blake, but suing the New York Times, and he comes with his receipts. And then people change their minds once again. And with that whiplash, that's when I started thinking about the comparisons to Wicked, because a really good piece of misinformation or propaganda makes you think that you are a free thinker who has all the facts and you're forming your own opinion. But really, you don't have all the facts, and the ones you do have are actually bullshit. And I am very interested in the facts. And after watching every season of Suits, I do feel qualified to pass the bar. So not only did I read every page of these lawsuits, I also watched legal analyst Emily D. Baker's take on them, which I highly recommend doing because she is the definition of unbiased and she knows what she's talking about, and these lawsuits are fucking long. There are now 5 separate complaints totaling 457 pages. Actually, now it's more because Justin just amended his complaint to the New York Times and uploaded a document totaling like 168 pages, so there's a lot to read. There's Blake's original CRD complaint, her federal complaint against Justin, there's Justin's complaint against the New York Times, and then his complaint against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and his publicist, and then there's his ex-publicist lawsuit against him and his current publicist. I stand corrected, there is a 6th lawsuit that was filed against Blake Lively for defamation by a crisis PR firm run by Jed Wallace, who is named in Blake Lively's lawsuit against Justin, as she believes he is one of the people involved in the alleged smear campaign against her. They're wanting to depose him, so this could be in a response to that. And they are suing for $7 million. So I haven't downloaded this one yet because it's behind a paywall and I don't trust myself to not forget to cancel the free trial, but it does exist. I'll have that linked below if you trust yourself to cancel the subscription, or if you just have money like that. Kudos to you. You're getting sued, you're getting sued, you're getting sued. And we are just getting started because a trial date has not been set until March of 2026. I don't see either side settling anytime soon. I could be wrong, but I think this will be part of both of their legacies, for the better or for the worse. And I can't go over every single claim that's being made in these 600 plus pages, but I am going to talk about the most important and the overarching arguments made by both sides. I also have these downloaded and linked in my sources below. You are welcome. In Blake Lively's initial complaint with the CRD, she listed 10 separate complaints for sexual harassment, retaliation, breach of contract, and emotional distress, just to name a few, which is a mighty big leap from he made her feel uncomfy to maybe he committed a crime. It made more sense as to why she wanted to distance herself from him after filming was done, and Justin denies all of these claims, which we will get to, but let's talk about what they are. Blake says that on January 4th, 2024, a meeting was called to address alleged misconduct by Justin Baldoni and his business partner, Jamie Heath, who is also the COO of Wayfarer, which is also Justin's production company. In this meeting, they outlined 30 separate points that are each pretty horrific on their own, and even more so altogether. The most egregious claims are that Blake was shown pornography, Justin talked about his addiction to pornography, he had confessed previous acts of non-consensual sex, he described his genitals to her, said that he spoke to her dead father, he improvised intimate scenes on set without consent and without an intimacy coordinator present, he entered her trailer when she wasn't fully clothed, and that he retaliated whenever she made these complaints initially. And there is no context in which any of this is okay if they are true. And if they're not true, it is disgusting to think that anyone would make this up to harm another person's reputation. And something I have seen that is really disturbing to me is that if I don't believe Blake's claims, then I just don't believe victims and I don't believe women. And that is extremely offensive to me, both as a woman and as a victim myself of multiple abusive men in my life. I just had an instance last summer where I was harassed by a stranger in my car as I was driving for Lyft at the time and he was a passenger. I have TikToks about it that are still up if you're interested, and I don't feel like rehashing the details right now. But even though I went to the police station right after to file a report, even though I had a text message from him apologizing to me for his behavior, that still wasn't good enough for some people because I didn't have camera footage of the event, so it must not have happened. You guys are so right. I just wanted the attention of people calling me a liar and telling me I'm too ugly to harass. That is so fun for me. The problem is that no amount of evidence is going to be good enough for some people if they don't want to believe you. And I wanted to believe Blake, and I still want to believe that something happened. Because unlike her, I don't have the luxury of having my traumas filmed, but most of her claims were filmed. So it should be easy for her to prove, right? If you're telling the truth, there's nothing to hide. Except that already one description that Blake made in her complaint is already not matching the raw footage that Justin and his team have released. I'm gonna read to you how she describes it in her initial complaint. On another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Mr. Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Miss Lively later objected to this behavior, Miss Baldoni, they meant Mr. Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Now, let's watch the raw footage. The background music in this footage is hella copyrighted, so I have to mute it. I have a link to the full video in my description, just so you know there is sound, but I can't play it without my entire video getting demonetized, which is so silly. But they've captioned everything that they're saying. Enjoy. I don't know about y'all, but that was wildly different from what I was picturing, and it pisses me off how twisted it is. Her lawsuit states that no sound was recorded, which was a lie, and that no talking was necessary, but she is the one who wanted to continue talking, and Justin didn't. She presented it as if it was complete silence and he said this out of nowhere when she was talking about her spray tan and he said, "Oh, it smells good." And her saying that he caressed her with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. What does that mean? It has everything to do with your roles because your characters are in love. So her acting like it wasn't in character when we can clearly see him break character when he calls cut is crazy. Here is Justin's description of this exact scene in his lawsuit. Production was filming a romance montage of Lily and Ryle on their date. One of the producers played music to set the mood so the characters could slow dance. Lively, consistently unable to take direction, insisted she really liked the idea of the characters constantly talking because, as she described, she and her husband liked to keep talking and talking and talking. Baldoni, her director, and the film's assistant director, who was directing the scene, disagreed. Lively continued arguing and tried to direct him for the scene while they were supposed to be in character filming the scene. At some point, Heath and another producer, irritated, called Baldoni aside to express they can't capture the intended shot because Lively wouldn't stop talking. He was instructed to somehow get her to stop. While there was a brief verbal exchange, Baldoni, heeding the instruction of their assistant director and producers, continued to try to bring them back into character. As they were acting in this montage scene, Lively continued to break character and speak as herself rather than as Lily, which was extremely confusing for Baldoni, who was trying to balance directing the scene with his artistic vision while also acting in character while filming and trying to get Lively to do the same. Lively apologized for the smell of her spray tan and body makeup. Baldoni responded, "It smells good," and continued acting, slow dancing as he believed his character would with his partner, which requires some amount of physical touching. Now, it is up to you to determine which person's story aligns more with what you just saw with your own eyeballs. And at first, Blake's team was ecstatic that he released this. Blake's lawyer said Justin Baldoni and his lawyer may hope that his latest stunt will get ahead of the damaging evidence against him, but the video itself is damning. Every frame of the released footage corroborates to the letter what Miss Lively described in paragraph 48 of her complaint. I believe that you believe that, but once they saw that once again the internet was not on her side, they quickly changed their tune and filed a protective order attempting to stop Justin's lawyer from continuing to release evidence, and her lawyer stated that they were trying to bias the jury and undermine her credibility. Which is it? Does this footage exonerate her or does it make her look guilty? And it's very strange to not want things released if you are telling the truth, especially when she is the one who went to the New York Times with her CRD complaint full of evidence in the first place. And it is getting really dark outside, so we're gonna have to go over Justin's entire defense in the next video. But I want to end this talking about the perfect victim paradox, which is basically how there is no such thing as a perfect victim, but everyone in the peanut gallery thinks that they would be a perfect victim, and if that happened to them, they would have done this. Well, guess what? You will never be in their exact situation. Ever. You have no idea how you are going to react to insane situations like abuse or trauma until it happens to you. There are a few responses. You've heard of fight or flight, and there is also freeze and fawn. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way that I am a freezer, sometimes fawner. My brain tells me that doing anything is going to make the situation worse, and I literally feel paralyzed and trapped inside of my body, and it is completely involuntary, and it is horrific. You cannot dictate how you are going to respond to trauma beforehand. So I am not going to tell Blake or Justin or any victim how they should feel, how they should have acted in certain situations. Maybe Blake did feel uncomfortable. I cannot tell her that she didn't. I can only compare his evidence to her evidence because she chose to make this public to make an example of him. And the person that Justin is painted to be in her lawsuit is all too common, especially in Hollywood. Men swing their powerful dicks around and they get away with all kinds of shit. Harvey Weinstein, P. Diddy, anybody? But this doesn't mean that women are infallible or incapable of lying. I, right now, personally think Justin has more merit to his story, but by the time that this gets published, 50 more things are going to happen, and I am open to hearing more from Blake. We just haven't yet. Anyways, say goodbye to Trixie and Rexy. I'm still working on my new setup. Also, I got a new camera. This one doesn't shut off on me every 10 minutes. Thank you for watching this, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. This is so detailed. I even turned the skin filter off for you guys. This is real. You are getting wrinkles in 4K. Bye bye.